And I think at the end I wrote like, or just looking for friends.
I remember reading that email and I was like, oh, this sad woman is just looking for friends. Welcome back to Sleepless, a podcast about the creative podcast. And this week we're joined by...
Do you want to try
that again?
Yeah. And welcome back to Sleepless, a podcast about the creative process. This time we are lucky to be joined by, obviously, Robin, myself, Tom, and we have Michael and Marianna from the Sonar Network, who are usually on the other side of the camera. This time you're in front of the camera. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So you have started a very successful network, award-winning, the Sonar Network. So I suppose, like, what was it that kind of got you started into doing that in the first place?
Oh, the network itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let Mike take that because he actually founded the network. Well, co-founded.
Yeah.
I wasn't there.
No. I was a big podcast fan from the beginning, from even before iTunes supported podcasts RSS feeds. I was like in the very early days, which is just a brag. It's not that's nothing but just me being like, I was there first before it was cool. But yeah, I was just been a fan of podcasts for a long time, and then I was doing comedy in the city, and I started a podcast, and then we kind of got some recognition, won a bunch of awards, and I was like getting involved in the podcast community in Canada, and seeing like other networks grow in other cities. Like really, we've been kind of emulate in a lot of ways a network called Earwolf in LA, and I just thought what they were doing was so cool. It was like a community, building community of like podcasters and funny people who guest on each other's show, and it's like this lively, fun scene. And I was like, I kept saying to my friends, like, someone should do this in Toronto. Like, if someone could do this, if someone would just do this in Toronto, then we could join, our show could join the network, and it would be great. And we just kept saying that for a while, and then eventually we just were just like, I guess we should do it.
Just do it, yeah.
Yeah, and then we did it. And then my life's been an unending nightmare ever since.
And when you did it, did you take like a full leap jump and this is your full-time thing? Or was it like step by step, you kind of like grew it over time?
It was very step by step. It was gradual. It was like in the early days, it was just like, it was a website with 6 shows on it. And it was just like every show was hosted in different places. And it was just like, we were just friends basically that have a website. That was all it was. And then we started kind of selling ads. And really, honestly, when it really started growing was when Marianna joined the party in, I don't know, 2018 or 19 or something like that. And it started to really get like a focus. And Marianna's like runs and does a lot of the marketing and the community type stuff. And I'm more running like the business side and the ad sales and stuff. But together we're making it, we're doing it. High five.
And did you guys know each other before Sonar or?
No, that's actually a funny story too, because the way that we met was that, so I had been laid off from a job, like my whole team got laid off. We were like 60 people across Canada, and they laid off everybody. I was just like, I don't know that I want to go back into like the restaurant marketing world, because that's kind of what I was doing there. I was like a sales admin for the sales team for whatever. And I was just like, I don't know that that's really what I want to be doing with my life. But so I was in this position where I was like, I should just find out, like, do some self-discovery. Like, what do I really love? And like, maybe just pursue that. And like, I have a cultural studies and communications degree. So I was like, maybe that can come in handy. Like, I love media. I love arts. And I especially loved podcasts. I was listening to podcasts 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I was just like, I can't live without listening to podcasts. Like, maybe that's something.
Something, yeah.
So I started Googling like Toronto podcasters and just trying to like, well, first of all, trying to find a job if there were any jobs out there, which there were not. But I was trying to like find a community to become a part of. And I found Sonar because they had this website at the time. And it was like a little baby thing. It was like a few podcasts that they had up. I think there were like 8, 9, like at that point. It was, they'd been going for like a year or something. And the model made perfect sense to me. I just clicked with their goals immediately because I was obsessed with Earwolf. And Earwolf, the network, the comedy network in LA that Mike mentioned, I could see immediately that they were modeling themselves off of Earwolf. And I was like, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Like, I love comedy. I'm obsessed with Earwolf. And this kind of community of like cross-pollinating between shows and like other shows coming out of other shows and like cross-guesting and all these people like sharing the love between these shows in a very like community-driven way. I was like, those are my people. Like, I have to get in touch with them. And so I emailed and I was just like, hey, oh my God, you should have brought the email to read. The email was just like, hey, you know, I'm just like, I love podcasts. I love what you're doing. I would love to like get involved or whatever. And I think at the end I wrote like, or just looking for friends.
I remember reading that email and I was like, oh, this sad woman is just looking for friends.
Yeah, that's so funny that was your thought, because like his thought was like, oh my God, this like depressed woman emailed us asking to be friends. But in reality, on the website, it actually said,
yeah, I think I wrote
on the
that
contact
too.
page, it said like, or, you know, like email us for this, that, or if you just want a friend. Like, so I was referencing that, but it's so funny that in their minds, it was like this weird lady wants to like, but anyway, but Michael responded and was like, we don't have a job for you.
Yeah, but do you want to run the whole network?
No, not quite. It was like, we don't have a job for you, but you know, like we're pretty small time, but you can like come and hang out if you want. Like, we record at this place every
other
Friday.
Studio.
Well, they shut down.
They're gone.
Yeah,
so.
they're gone. So.
No, that was a really fun studio.
This place
it was
was
called
so cool.
Pacific Junction.
Okay.
And it was like on the east end of Toronto, like near Regent.
Yeah,
I guess Regent
like
Park area.
Queen West, East.
Yeah, Parliament and Queen or something.
Something like that.
It was a bar. It was like a cute bar. And then there was like a recording studio in it. So there was like a glass wall and you could be like hanging out in the bar area, just like drinking with your friends. And on the other side, there was like people recording and laughing and like you could just watch along.
It was
a really
so
cool
vibe, yeah.
What happened to it? Just closed down for whatever?
Closed down.
Went
Wow.
out of business, I guess.
Maybe they
It's
just
some
weren't
kind
doing
of
well.
And what is it about podcasts that you were both like, I'm in? Because it's a very like niche thing as well, like, especially when it was early, just RSS feeds that like.
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you what it was for me. I always listened. I loved, even in high school and stuff, I loved talk radio, morning radio. I would like get up early and listen to it. Like if I was driving, commuting to work, I would listen to it. And like at that time in like 2005, when I first found podcast, I was driving to Toronto, like an hour and a half, and I was just listening to radio. And I just remember always being annoyed that there was like, they would cut the music. They'd always cut the music. They would always cut to
the same
ads. And it's just like so many ads, which is now that's what podcasts are too. But but back then it was like podcasts were new. And so I remember like I was like, oh, I heard something about this podcast thing because I'm a nerd, and it was kind of in my circle, and I kind of I'd heard about it. So then I kind of did more research, and there wasn't that much out there, but I finally I just found like a comedy podcast that I could listen to. There was no ads, nothing. It was just people and there was like celebrities hadn't joined in yet or anything. So it was just like the early days, but it was just like radio for me. And it's
like rock and roll back then.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool because one of the things that made me love radio was listening to a radio show here in Toronto like in the 90s. It was two guys, a morning show called Humble and Fred, who they were great, iconic Toronto radio boys. And now they are on our network.
Oh,
wow.
And it's
They have
sort
a
of
full
podcast.
circle
Yeah.
moment.
yeah, their
Yeah.
show, we kind of took their show on and we kind of worked with them. So it's like really
had-
cool kind of circle. The circle's
Yeah.
completed and now I can just walk into the lake.
And never return.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a few. I'll tell you another cool full circle moment that we've had because of this career. So Michael and I, it's not a secret that we are also in love.
Yep.
Yes.
So, yeah, so this didn't happen immediately, like when we met. Like, I mean, I thought he was cool and all, but
And like really hot and stuff.
yeah. Things like developed gradually over time, obviously, but when we first met, the first thing we kind of bonded over as friends was an episode of the podcast Comedy Bang Bang,
Okay.
which is like a very big comedy improv podcast. There was an episode where Bobby Moynihan, he was on Saturday Night Live for many years, he played a character called Forval. And it was like a very silly, like based on Fievel. It was like a silly child who got stabby and it was very goofy. And I loved that episode. It's like a very famous episode of Comedy Bang Bang. And that was the first thing we bonded over, where I don't know how it came up, but we were just like, we love that episode. Oh my God, Comedy Bang Bang.
Yeah.
And now we have a show on the network coming out in July. And Bobby Moynihan is in it.
Mhm.
And we got to go to LA and record with him. And we got to tell him that he was the whole reason that we even got like bonded in the first place.
And he told
it
us
was
we have
like,
to name our child Forval.
yeah.
So I guess we did.
And now we do. We have
Yeah.
to. We have no
Forval.
choice.
How would you nickname that? Four?
Yeah.
Four.
Four?
Yeah.
So this new podcast coming out, I believe there's some other star-studded members on it, and so are you allowed to give us the premise of it, or
Yeah.
is it
Yeah.
yeah?
Yeah, it's so it's written by Mike Sachs, and Mike Sachs is he's an editor at Vanity Fair. He's written for the New Yorker, McSweeney's, and he's written a bunch of quite popular comedy books, like some that are like amongst comedy nerds, like very well respected. And
Here's the Kicker.
Here's the Kicker, Poking a Dead Frog, and
yeah.
they're interviews with like huge comedy writers.
Mm.
And so a lot of people that are studying comedy will like read his books
Oh,
because
wow.
because it's a lot of really, really great interviews. So anyway, Mike Sachs wrote it. Excuse me, I had to burp.
Those bubblies.
That's my girl.
It's the bubblers. The premise is kind of like a Narnia parody.
Okay.
Oh.
When our other producer recently said that it's like if Kenny Powers went to Narnia. We also call it Narnia meets Eastbound and Down. It's kind of like this like mediocre Maryland man,
Just
and
like dirtbag kind of guy.
Okay.
he's a little bit of a dirtbag, but he's like a jolly dirtbag. He and this cynical podcaster woman named Melanie, they go through a portal in a wardrobe into a fantasy world called Zingia, which Stan, the main character, has nicknamed StanLand. And it has been overrun with like capitalism.
And so it's like vape shops and fast food now.
Okay.
And so that's like the world. Yeah.
So that's kind of the general premise. And now, so they've gone through the wardrobe, and the story is almost like an adventure story of like them trying to get back home.
Wow.
And they meet characters along the
Yeah.
way, and you kind of see this fantasy world degraded into sort of like
Into capitalism.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Basically what we've done here.
Yeah. Exactly.
pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, and Melanie is played by Rhea Seehorn from Better Call Saul, and
Kim Wexler.
yeah, she also multi-Emmy nominee, and honestly, it's a crime that she didn't win. I feel
Yeah.
She rocks.
So you've already like submitted it for review to all, so it's already been like listened to by judges and stuff like that.
Yeah, we submitted to Tribeca and we were an official selection.
Yeah.
There's
Wow.
a jury there that chose it. So we're very, very lucky, very excited, and we're going to Tribeca next week. It's going to be like a lot of big like community and networking events, but also there's like a showcase where we had to make a video trailer. That was an interesting thing too, to have an audio fiction podcast that lives in audio, but we had to somehow make the trailer a video.
What was the process for that then?
It was an interesting exercise of like, how do we do that without like making a movie? Because like that's that's so much money and we can't.
And we had like 2 weeks to do it or something.
Yeah, we had like 2 weeks. We are very fortunate to have a really, really great graphic designer on board. He's done a lot of work for Sonar. He's made a few of our podcast cover arts. And he was like, I really want to get into animating. So why don't I just try? Like, and he illustrated it and he animated it. And like the animation, he's not a professional animator, so it's not like the coolest animation you've ever seen, but it's simple and it just works perfectly for what it needs to be. And now he's like obsessed with animating and he's like doing more and more, and he wants to do like more podcast animations and stuff. He's doing more stuff for StanLand too. So
you might animate that series eventually.
Yeah, the goal is, ideally, if the show goes well and people like it, especially now we're going to Tribeca, like we can meet some people in the industry, and if someone's interested in making it into a series, like an animated series, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be like a great end for that show. Yeah.
How do you go from like, I don't know, getting a star-studded writer and then cast, and like, was that something that somebody approached you about, or is very much that you guys were like, I'm driving towards this?
Yeah, there was a lot of factors. We'd worked with Mike before, the writer and creator, and I think he liked working with us. I think he'd had experiences where he'd been working for a network, and he gets like a lot of pressure and notes and whatever from the network, and I think he wanted a little more freedom, and he knew he would get that from us because we have worked with him on a different podcast. So he told us that was kind of the reason why they chose us. I know they were kind of shopping it around. And then also our amazing producer, the other producer, like Marianna and I are producers, and there's a third producer, Brian, who's in LA, and he works for Odenkirk Proviseros, a talent agency. And so they a lot of the talent came, Brian had them through his side. So like, Bobby and like Bobby Moynihan, Steve Little, some of the other cast members. And also people that Mike knew, and people that just read
Mike is very well connected.
Yeah, and
like,
people knew the work, and they saw the pitch of the product, and they were excited to work on it. So it was just like I think it was just a lot of things kind of lined up just perfectly.
A lot of things lined up, but also I will say, like, since this is a podcast about like creativity and how to like make it as a creator, like I think like the biggest lesson that I've learned from all this is that like connections are so important. Like just like the people that you meet and that you like connect with professionally, it's like it can make such a huge difference. That's the only way that we came into this, is like because originally the first connection started with Rob, who is an editor on the show. He came to us with a different podcast, I think, at some point.
No, he came to us with Mike's.
Oh, with Mike's. He produced Mike's other podcast and came to our network to pitch it, and we liked it, so we brought it on. And Rob, we also brought his podcast, Vanderpump Rob's, onto the network, and so we became really close with Rob. And he also now works at a management level in the company as well. So Mike found us through him, and then, Mike liked working with us, so he brought Brian, who is our other producer at Odenkirk Provisero. He brought Brian to us with this new show, and like Brian is connected to all these people, Mike is connected to all these people, and it's just like opening your mind to like all the different people that come into your life and like where those things could lead is so important.
Yeah, the biggest advice I could give anyone if they were to ask me, it would be, on those lines of like, just be nice to everyone. People, it's important if people don't want to work with you. If people want to work with you and you're on their mind, but also like, have the conversation, make connections. If people ask me to go for coffee all the time, like I want to pick your brain, whatever, I basically do it every single time.
Right.
And like 90%
to
of
the
the
point
time,
where maybe you shouldn't.
To the point where I know, but it's like, first of all, it's an honor that they're asking me. I like, it's like, it feels good. And it's like, if I can pass something onto them to help them on their journey, like I wouldn't want to, I don't want to like reject that. But also, maybe there is something there. And sometimes there is, and you talking and like, oh, this thing I never thought of, this idea that you have or that I have, or like this happens all the time. Where we like, this happened recently even. It was like, we had this kind of thought about an idea for a show and we were talking to someone else and they were like, oh, we had that too. And we started brainstorming, whatever. And it's like, now we're working on this show together to pretend like maybe it will become something cool. Yeah. And it was just like, these kind of things just happen. They only happen if you allow
you put yourself out.
Yeah, you never know where a conversation will lead you. It's like our relationship as well.
I know, it's
exactly.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like if I hadn't met John from the Canadian Podcast Awards at Canadian Music Week, geez, that was only last year, wasn't it? Yeah.
Wow.
And when Tom went to that, he was like, I'm going to go to this. And I was like, oh, whatever, man. It's not like, I was not like that. Like, I didn't think anything would go. Yeah. Well, I'm learning more now that like networking is important. But I've always kind of seen, because I've gone in a lot of the corporate world, that it can be almost like a bit like, not that enjoyable, that it can sometimes be a lot of...
I hate doing
it. Like sales almost.
I'm so bad at it, especially when I know people. If I'm there with like Marianna or some other people in the podcast community that I know, it's like we'll just be sitting in our little circle talking to each other, and it's like we're supposed to be talking to everyone else that we don't know.
Yeah,
I hate doing it too, but that's why I think like part of what Mike said is like just be nice to everyone, because you never know who is going to be a really interesting person to work with, and you don't know where things will lead.
And to act like you're too good or too cool, like people, I hear it all the time. People are like, oh, this person, like they did this or they were shitty or whatever. And it's just like, why would you want to be that over like, oh, this guy, he was really nice, or like he's easy to work with, or whatever. He was helpful to me in a time when I really needed it.
Yeah.
Well, there has been, and I don't know if the times are changing, but I definitely know when I grew up, like the sayings were around, you've got to be the baddest, biggest fish in the pond, the baddest motherfucker. You've got to like almost be this persona, like the hungriest live and stuff like this. And I think that's fed a lot of people's, like, they feel like to be successful and to be driven, they need to be hungry and grindy and like
hustle culture.
Yeah, hustle. Yeah. And I think that is changing now. Like, just be nice, set your boundaries and stuff like that. But that was definitely one thing that I've noticed, like maybe early 2090s, that like a lot of that was, and some people have continued on that.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of people now that are trying to spend a bit more time on their creative ambitions now as well. Yeah. Which is nice to see.
Yeah.
And I guess they have space to do that.
Plug.
No, I mean, I think it's so important. And I do think things are shifting because people see the hustle culture and they're like freaked out by it. And rightly so, because like we're just not built for that. Like no one should have to survive that way. Like it's crazy.
It is. I went to Vancouver Startup Week and I was talking to this woman, and she was like working like very clever ideas, and she was doing like spinning a load of different plates trying to make her business work. And she was like, I really love this talk from one of the VCs. She didn't drop names or anything, but I was like, okay, what did they say? And she was like, they said, in order to get invested, I won't invest with anyone who has a hobby, because they're not going to work in the business. And I was like, what? That is probably one of the worst advice I've ever heard.
Crazy.
Do not follow that advice. And she kind of looked at me and I was like, look, I'm not the most successful person in the world, but I like to think I'm pretty happy. I was like, you're going to work yourself into the ground, and at the end of it, what you have to show for it? A business maybe that works.
Yeah.
Well, and a business that could be temporary. Like, you know what I mean? Like if your business fails in 5 years, what do you have left
Exactly.
if you've put all of your time
and
and energy and your identity into that? Like, who are you after?
It blew my mind that somebody sat in a panel and said that to a group of people. Yeah.
That's toxic. Frankly.
Yeah. But what if the business and your passions intertwine?
Yeah, obviously.
Well,
you find through your passions something that, like, again, we always go back to these stories, but like, you know, Sleepless is fundamentally based on what we've done as like through, you know, secondary school or high school and then college. And it was really through, like, we used to call each other every month and just chat about like what's going on in life or reminisce, or, you know, Tom also runs his label, One Hours Records. And through
Tom runs a label?
Yeah, he has a
Wait,
label,
that's your poster on the corkboard?
I do, yeah.
I see it every day, and I'm like, oh yeah. Because actually, you know what I always think is in Greek, because I speak Greek, oniro is like dream.
Yeah.
And so every time I see that, I'm like, I wonder if this person is named that because of that.
Yeah, it's named after the Greek gods of dreams.
Right.
Yeah, so I do like 3 different release series. Is within it one Morpheus, Phobiter, and Phantasos. The 3 of them were all Oneri.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So
and dreams and Sleepless.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Yeah, all connected.
I think that could be a happy accident.
Probably is. Or the simulation is real.
So cool.
But that was techno music. Another passion in DJing and stuff like that. So there's all tying in together again, which is nice.
I will say it's hard when your passion is your business.
Yeah.
Because, and I know that, like, I was just engineering an episode for you with Hillary, and you were talking at some point about, like, you know, that old adage that if you
love what you do, you don't work a day in your life.
Yeah, and how that's like just frankly not true. And I was like, yeah, I totally agree. Like, the problem is when you make your passion your job, you have to be willing to like push through it, push through the days where you're like fuck, like I didn't want this to be boring, I didn't want this to be stressful, I didn't want this to be exhausting, that's why I went for what I love. But it's like, it's gonna be those things too. It's not gonna be like happy all the time.
And I mean I feel like, first of all, this is an attack but that is kind of where I live in this world of like, I loved podcasts, it was my favorite thing, and now it's like a job. And also it's like I've kind of like lost a little bit. Like, I don't just listen to podcasts like I used to.
No, me
critique
neither.
them as well.
Yeah, and I'm inside. I know what's good, what's bad, and like I'm also like, you know, we're working on StanLand. And like, I've heard episode 1 of StanLand like 1,000 times.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like now we're moving on to episode 2, and we're going to be reviewing that one over and over again. And it's like, you know, it's amazing. It's incredible, by the way. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just like, you know, instead of like listening to podcasts for fun, I'm like listening to it and like being like,
critiquing
the sound design and this and this. Oh, we got to change this.
Yeah,
like making
it's
notes.
actually rare these days that I am captivated by a podcast. It does happen though. It does happen. It's just not as often. But before I worked in podcasting, I was like checking out new podcasts. I was like addicted to podcasts. Like, there was like shows that like I would never miss a week, like never. And there were multiples of them. Different shows, and I would have like a playlist of episodes, like hundreds of episodes long, and I would be like working through. And now it's like once every 6 months or something, there's like a show that I'm like, oh, this is awesome, and I'll listen to it for like a month and then I'll fall off, you know. But some it does still happen. It's just like,
well, yeah, it's funny how all these podcasts are starting to have a little trend, but it goes back to what we were talking about with Erica and the hedonic treadmill. It's like you go and get that thing you always wanted, and then the challenges start again. So like, it's funny, like you know, we work with a lot of DJs as well through the studios, and when I was younger, I thought to myself, like, this is what I want to do, and I want to be a DJ. But the more I kind of delved into it, it's like, it's actually really tough, because you're flying everywhere, you're working, you're standing long hours. It's like, I love cooking, and I worked as a chef for a few years, and then again, similar thing, didn't love food anymore. I was sick of food. I was eating just for the sake of eating, just to not be hungry. And it's like, it's just funny how that all works out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like, yeah, I mean, but it's sometimes it puts you on the path. Like, you know, did I think I ever wanted to run a network? Absolutely not. There's no way. This was what I thought I would have wanted to do. I was like in comedy and I love podcasts. Like I wanted to be a podcast host, and I was for a while. I had my podcast. Yeah. I won 7 podcast awards. No big deal. But I realized I realized in that journey of like, and it was like very gradual transition, and I felt like I basically didn't even consent to it. But I ended up just running the network of creators rather than being a creator, and it just kind of happened because it's like there was a gap there, and it seemed like it made sense for me to do it. I didn't necessarily want to, but I love
you find it fulfilling.
So fulfilling to support creators that I think are doing really good work in the scene. And it's like, now I get to be, and it also comes with bad sides where you have to say no to a lot of people that want something or need your help or want, you know, your resources or whatever. And I have to be like we can only do so much.
Well, that's interesting you bring that up, because we are also like, I mean, we can't, I guess there's nothing to announce yet. But we are like, because
keep it vague.
So because Sonar started as a collective of friends that wanted to like help each other, and they were all indie creators. They were like, you know, just small, like just trying to make it, just trying to figure out things day by day. The more we grew as a network and as a business, the more like he said, the more selective we've had to be with who we actually bring on to the network and who we can put those resources and help into. And that at this point is like, we're having to turn away some people that we actually would really love to support. And that is a challenge that we're trying to figure out right now. Like, how can we continue to grow the network, you know, monetize certain shows and be able to bring in some money to be able to keep the lights on, but also keep growing shows, our smaller shows and our bigger shows and everything.
And like incubate smaller shows and help them in some way.
Right. But also like support the community of creators who keep reaching out to us, because we get pitches all the time. Then like, it'll be like, oh, I have this like really cool idea for a podcast, but I haven't made it yet. And we're just like, well, we can't really help you with that. Like, there's not much we can do with that unless your podcast involves like Britney Spears. Like, we can, you know, I don't know. Talking. Like, if you have some insane connection, then maybe. But like, other than that, it's like we can't just help everybody who walks through the door. So, but we want to. So it's like, we're just kind of like in a stage of figuring out how we can expand our support circle so that new creators that have cool ideas and don't really know where to start can still get support from us to be able to do that. And I think Sleepless is a really cool, that's why we love it here so much, because it's not just a studio. It's like you're trying to build a community, you're trying to uplift creators and like give people the physical tools, obviously, and like gadgets that they need, but also like just a circle of people around them that can help with questions. And, you know, like that's like really valuable.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it is like, you know, somebody can have a really good podcast idea, and then what kind of hampers them is like, how do I even film this to a high quality standard that it doesn't look terrible? Because social media to an extent, and even YouTube now, has gotten to such a standard that if it, and we learned this from the first phase of the podcast studio, that if it looks bad, it's not going to really trend that well, and that can be very hard for people. So you know, giving people that ability to be able to just, again, we say it all the time, plug and play, and you know, try it first before being like, hey, you know, see what sticks first.
And just for if people are listening and don't know what Sleepless Studios is, it's like, I will give an advertisement for it. It's not my business, but I think it's great what you guys are doing, and so it's not you don't have to worry about being self-conscious. But you guys have a really cool space here that you've built. With this podcast is being recorded here, there's other studios, DJ studios, band practice studios, voice recording, like that kind of stuff, co-working. And it's just like a really cool place. Every day or whenever I come here, there's always like people hanging out and talking, and like it's kind of like a watering hole as well as like a place people go to work and create. And it's also super affordable. And so if you're in the Toronto area, you should come here. If you want to record in this very space,
sit right here where these two legends.
Where these legends.
These legends have recorded.
I mean, we definitely are we've been very blessed with the space that we found. Yeah. There was a huge amount of headaches, and our landlords were very good to take the punt on us, because when you're trying to pitch a 24-hour space, people can be very, unsure about it. And another thing is trying to re-educate people on, you don't have to call and plead to get space,
we get that a lot.
You kind of have these weird phone calls at like 2 a.m. being like, hello, are you up? Like, who is this?
Wait, people are calling you at all hours of the night?
Like, it's like a quasi, you feel like it's a quasi drug deal the way they like are on the phone. It's like, hello, are you up? And you're like, yes.
There's one button on the app. You can come
so trying to get people used to that is definitely something has to happen over time. But no, we're very blessed to have been able to have a space like this.
Yeah, no, I think you guys have built something really cool, and
are still building. It's like young.
Yeah,
it's young and it's improving all the time.
Like, you've only been open just over a year.
A year and 6 months.
I mean, in a year you've done a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, we're always doing stuff.
Yeah, we're not done.
Yeah, we're not done. Like, there's always stuff that we can improve on. We take creator feedback very seriously. Mm-hmm. We had there's a certain type of effects machine that a lot of big super clubs have called an RMX 1000, and
for DJ
stuff? So basically you have your DJ stuff, you have your like CDJs, which are like the things with the discs on them, then you have your mixer in the middle, and then to try and I suppose with the bigger, more professional DJs, because at a certain point of time when you're mixing songs, like it gets to a level where anyone can kind of mix the song, and then to put your own spin on it, there's like an additional thing that you can add a layer of like mixes over it, like it helps effects and like reverb and we heard a lot of people ask for it, and we just said it's worth the investment on putting something like that in, because Tom and I, when we were learning to DJ back in college and that, equipment for DJs kind of expands over time. Like you can get a very entry thing for quite cheap, but it doesn't have all the bells and whistles. And then if you get a big break, it's like you have to learn a new instrument basically. And that can make or break your chance, because somebody's willing to put a punt on you. You've convinced your friends to come out, and then it doesn't sound good because you weren't used to it. And, that can be very challenging. So we really focused on what is it that we can do to make sure that whoever is trying to like put themselves out there, put themselves on the path, that they have that best opportunity when it comes.
Yeah.
I mean, even in here, it's like this podcast studio has evolved tremendously.
Yes. If you haven't watched some of our earlier episodes, you should go back and see the
earlier in this
you can
season.
See the evolution.
Even earlier
or even
this season.
back in the previous season in the old like brown room.
The boardroom.
Yeah. Give us your honest thoughts. What did you think? Now that the camera's rolling.
The brown room was this is a step up.
Well, so another thing that we one thing kind of was a big jump for us when we were opening up, because we just kind of thought you would get the Rodecaster and people would do audio and it'll be fine. And then we were like, well, now we need video, and then that was a whole challenge in that room. Like at first we were just like, audio podcast, who doesn't want an audio podcast? But the way the world is going, video is
no, you have to have video at this point. I mean, not as a podcaster necessarily. I mean, if you're a studio, you have to.
And that's what will actually get people to come, because it's so easy to record audio anywhere now, even over Zoom and stuff. Like especially
you can do that at home,
after the pandemic, that's kind of started happening. So if people are going to go out of their home to go somewhere, it's going to be because there's a nice set. Like you can't have this at home, probably. Like a lot of people.
Well, without spending a lot of money.
Yeah, right. Or some people just don't have the space to like set up a whole room for a podcast studio.
Well, and these mics are really nice. It's like maybe not everybody wants to drop on one of these for their house, right? And especially if you're recording just a few times a month or something like that, you know?
Well, somebody made a really good point to me at a Vancouver Startup Week was like, you know, a lot of people focus on setting up their podcast or getting a podcast somewhere, and they like get it and it's in a place that's like, you know, really sketchy, or it's like in an area that's not great. And the biggest thing is for the guest, right? Is the guest needs to feel comfortable in a space that feels professional.
Every time we have a recording with one of our shows and they bring a guest, the guest will walk in here and be like, whoa, this is so
every
cool.
single time.
Yeah.
Everyone's always so excited and they're like, whoa, I feel like I'm on a movie set. Like they're like, they feel so cool, like walking into the space. Because it is cool. I mean, when you're just like a regular person out in the world, like you don't ever have cameras and lights on you, and you feel so special.
It is, yeah. I used to work in the hospitality as well, in some hotels and stuff. And when you work in hospitality, and it's kind of the same, I suppose, with podcasting as well. The sheen like wanes off. So when you first walk in here, you're like, oh my god, this is so cool. Da, da, da. And once you see it every day, you're kind of like, oh, I actually don't like how that looks. I don't like, and you almost see the imperfections rather than the positives.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and it's because you're so close to it.
But it's the same thing, like, you know, we were talking about like making your passion your work. Like you get too close to it, and then you're like now when I listen to podcasts, it's like all I can hear are flaws or things that they're doing better than us, and now I'm just jealous, or I'm like, ugh, it's just not the same. You don't have that sheen anymore. Yeah.
But it probably also goes into, we have like a big picture idea of what, you know, our big plans are. And we're probably always like looking for something to change to get to that point. So there's probably always a little bit of that in the back of our heads as well. But it's good. Yeah, we got big plans.
Yeah. How do we move the needle every day? That's really the...
Yeah, this is it.
And same with you guys, right? We were talking about StanLand, and you guys were saying every year it's like bigger and more, and it's, you know, taking on more.
And it's kind of what you were saying before too about like the treadmill or whatever, where it's like if I was right now, I feel I'm just like there's always like it's not good enough. It's like I could be doing better. There could be doing more. There could be lots of room to grow. But if I like take a step back and like look at like when I started the network, first of all, having no idea how to run an entertainment bit, like who was it to think I could run an entertainment company? I didn't know. I've never done that before, but like, but to think that like in a few years I would be doing this really cool show with like really cool people, like John Hamm is. We didn't even mention the cast, but John Hamm's in the show.
John Waters.
John Waters. You know, Bobby Moynihan, Ray Seehorn, Steve Little.
Yeah.
The cast is incredible. And Mike Sachs, who's like a comedy legend.
I know, even a year ago, if you were like, yeah, at some point you'll be working with John Waters, I would have been like, are you
we were
crazy?
Invited to interview the Prime Minister of Canada.
Yes, there was Justin Trudeau was on one of our shows last year.
And we just had all these really cool opportunities, and I really have a problem seeing them as like exciting in the moment. Sometimes I just have to step back and like look from point A to point C.
Yeah.
Because when you're in it, it's just everything's stress.
I think that's also
I'm
really
just
good.
Like in a pile of stress.
That's also a really, really good lesson for creators in general. Like, I mean,
look back.
You have to look at how much you've grown, because it's really easy to get bogged down in like, I'm not good enough. I have to do better. I have to learn this. I have to do this better. And
having goals is important. Look at where you want to be. But it's also like good to look at where you came from and what you've accomplished, because it's makes me feel better about myself, because sometimes I just feel like I'm drowning and what's the point?
But you also have to, the thing is that there will be days like that. Like we have days where we get some bad news about a show, or something happens like that we were really excited about, like, say, I don't know, an event, and it gets canceled, which is something that just happened to us.
What could that possibly be?
Let's say hypothetically. But yeah, like, and so you have a really fucking bad day where you're like, oh my God, everything I've built is crumbling. I'm horrible. I'm an imposter. Why did I ever think I could do this? Like, you just tell yourself the worst things. And then I think it's just really important to remember that this is a temporary state of mind that you're in, and maybe you'll sleep on it and tomorrow you'll process better. You know what I mean? Like, all of it is emotions. And they say, like, you know, a healthy way to deal with emotions is to remember that they will wash over you. That, like, your body's reacting and your mind's reacting in this moment to something terrible that happened. But you're not always going to feel this way. Like, you will feel stronger again. And then, like, you will move on to bigger, better things. Like, because it's just so easy to get, like, in that depressed state when something bad happens.
Yeah,
it will happen.
I do, like, when I get to that, I do a lot of meditating, and like that's a really thing that's really helped me, and I suppose with Sleepless, with other things, because you get to a state where basically you can almost watch your emotions like act, and you're like, oh yeah, that's because of this, and then it just goes away. You know, like, I think a lot of people with meditation, they think. They sit there like, think of nothing.
No,
but that's not like the point.
Of something.
Right?
Yeah.
So really it's about sitting there and just like realizing that it's just like the passage of time, and being as present as you can, and realizing that, you know, things will just move on. And actually I heard Drake, here's another sickler thing, come out with one thing and say that the best piece of advice his mum gave him was, by 48 hours the media cycle changes, so therefore don't react for 48 hours. And that's what he does that's what he says for all his controversies and stuff. He will just, as much as he wants to say something, do something, he'll wait 48 hours. And if it's still a problem, then he'll...
Like,
I think that's a generally
Kendrick
good
beef
philosophy. Well, that went on for a bit longer than that.
But that was definitely funded by the record labels for sure.
Oh, okay.
They're on the
Hot
same.
take.
They're on the same.
Yeah, conspiracy theory, but I can buy it. I can get
Or
behind it.
you always tell the thing about Father's Day, isn't it?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Because Kendrick's only tour is in Toronto, and it's on Father's Day because he's Drake's daddy.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's a really good practice in general. Just
Yeah.
like maybe 48 hours is too long to like
For some things.
Yeah. But
It's like studio's
still.
burning down. Just wait 48
Let's just
hours.
come back to this later. Yeah.
It'll blow over.
But you know, obviously there's emergencies, and that's a different story. But in general, in your career and as a creative person, like, bad shit's gonna happen, and you're not ever gonna be completely free of that. But giving yourself a little time to process properly before you go making like crazy moves, or giving up. Like,
there was another one I heard Pharrell say, that so many people give up just before the precipice is going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, like, things get toughest before they get better.
Yeah.
So then people just pack it up, and then you never knew.
I believe that.
Yeah,
For sure.
Because I'm sure you guys with the Sonar, I'm super excited to even listen to StanLand by the concept of it and the cast, and you know, I think by the sounds, think it's going to do very well, and all the best in Tribeca. But it's like, I'm sure for you guys there were times where you were like, I'm back in this stuff.
Oh,
Oh
buddy.
my God, I
that
can't even
happened
talk about
2 days ago.
stuff, but
Literally.
on microphone. But yeah, it was like there was ups and big downs. The ups were like being in LA recording with Bobby and Rhea, two people that and Steve. Like, these people I would
Tim.
appreciate it, and Tim was also great. Who
Don't forget Tim.
who I wasn't so familiar with and Lauren too. I wasn't familiar with them until we went there, but they were both amazing.
Yeah.
They were both so good.
Yeah, that was a big up.
But like Rhea and Bobby, who I admired for so long, and then we just got to hang out with them. And like, by the way, they're both like, it was like a quintessential like. Sometimes it's okay to meet your heroes. Like,
they're the
they were
nicest people in the
so
universe.
nice.
Yeah.
There was like Bobby would come and he would like talk about his kids and tell us stories about like he would make these tiny little pancakes for his kids and give them to the elf on a shelf, because it was like around Christmas time. The elf on a shelf would give his kids these little pancakes every day, and he'd bring us photos of like the pancakes and stuff. Yeah. It was so sweet.
Yeah, that was a big up. I think what you were getting at is that we've had some really, really amazing moments making this show. But but then at the
Big
same
downs.
time, big downs.
And big, like, just panic, like, what are we gonna do? How do we fix, like, how do we fix this? Moments. And it was like huge learning experience to do something at this scale and this scope.
For us, like, because we're an indie network, you know, like, and like we were saying before, like that every year we're getting bigger and like bigger, cooler projects happening, and it's like the scope of this project is nothing like what we've done before, so we're still learning too. Like, we've made big shows before, but not like this, and not with John Hamm of all people, but like, you know, like everything is, you're just always going to be learning too, like, and those downs are good learning experiences.
Win or learn.
Win or learn.
That's cute. I've actually never heard that before. Did you make that up?
I did not, unfortunately.
who
I heard it from John Kavanagh, Conor McGregor's
coach before Conor McGregor
went. I'm pretty sure that was
off.
the name. That was the title of his book, I think.
Oh, okay.
Win or learn.
He was the guy that basically, well, in my opinion, that kept Conor McGregor at the straight and narrow.
Yeah,
and then
100%,
once when they broke up, well, actually, he was just like, this guy isn't taking his life seriously anymore. Walked away.
Wow.
So he learned.
The coach learned. Conor did not.
As we can
Conor
see.
won. Conor won.
No.
No. Well, he did win that one fight, and now he's in a very downward trajectory of.
Didn't he get
alcohol,
beaten by
drugs,
like Logan
rape
Paul
charges?
Or something? Was that him?
They haven't fought.
They haven't fought.
No, but he did the Floyd Mayweather fight.
Oh, that was that one.
Yeah, that was like that YouTube fighter-esque style. Yeah. But
will we whip out the wheel?
oh,
Whip out the
Do we
wheel.
still
still
that
have
again?
the wheel? Oh, I must have put it back.
Jeez, you love that wheel.
Yeah, sorry. It's precious.
It's precious. We can't.
It's
We
gonna
can't
be a
harm
relic.
it.
It's gonna be a relic.
That thing's gonna be in a museum someday.
Okay,
Yeah.
now that Robin's gone, what do you really?
Yeah.
How
What
is
do you
it?
really think about it?
Oh,
What do
I've
we
got
need
so
to do
much
to
to
get
say.
Robin out of here?
Yeah, I've been waiting.
Yeah.
Okay, so back with the hot take wheel. We like to spin it just to change the conversation up, get some hot takes. I'll let you guys spin it. I'll read it because my handwriting is atrocious. So,
Spin? No.
winner, chicken dinner. Okay. What? Oh, this is actually not relevant to you. I'm going to ask you to spin it again because it's
It's
about
EDM.
electronic. Yeah,
It's
it's about
about
electronic
EDM.
music.
Oh, yeah.
The answer is Dead Mouse.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, we could have talked about that one. Saying lol is out.
Saying lol,
Saying
LOL.
LOL.
Yeah.
Well,
Or texting it.
I would like saying it out loud. And
Yeah, people say
with
that
your
and
voice.
texting us.
Who was it that said? Erica said the other day that she does that,
Yeah.
and I was like, really? I don't like when people say it to me, but also I love Erica, so I don't want to say anything bad. But
you use it in text. You text me that
I
sometimes.
LOL in text.
Very
Yeah.
millennial,
All the time.
apparently.
Yeah.
Yes,
to do that.
That makes sense, right? We
Yeah,
grew
apparently
up
Gen
like
Z
that.
do not do lol.
Do you know what people don't do a lot anymore is BRB.
Well, that's
Oh,
MSN was the big
Yeah.
reason why,
Yeah,
because you would
MSN.
actually have to get up and
Like,
come
get up
back,
and
but
go
we
away.
never have to go
Right.
away.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Now we're just on the phone all the
All the
time, so
time.
there's
We're
no
always
BRB
connected.
anymore.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
Yeah.
I think I would say it sarcastically sometimes, like
The LOL.
lol.
Oh,
yeah,
like
yeah,
out
yeah,
loud?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Do you text
yeah.
it though?
I don't. I think I'm more of an emoji guy now.
You just put a laughing
Uh,
face.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
laughing face.
Do you ever
Yeah.
go ha ha ha?
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
If I'm
sometimes.
actually laughing, I'll use ha ha ha. In work, if I'm asking like a very direct, I work a full-time job as well. Sleepless is not full-time as of yet. That if I'm asking a very direct question, that like, because when you type something, it can come off very like, depending on how you like read it, can be very like, especially
tone.
if it's direct. So I'll just be like lol at the end to try and like try and like keep it like lighter.
Yeah.
No, I do that just so it doesn't sound cold.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
we're having fun. I'm having fun. Why aren't you?
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
laughing
we
my
have
face
to
off.
charge you an extra $100. LOL.
So maybe
Yeah.
it is still it.
Well, there's also LMAO. That's my favorite.
LMAO,
I
laugh.
love an
Remember
LMAO.
ROTFL?
Raffle.
Raffle.
Yes.
Why was that one? We didn't need that one.
There were so many.
There was a reason why
different
that one kind of went away.
ROFL it became too.
Rolling on
the
floor.
floor laugh.
So
Yeah.
just get rid of the T.
Well, I've used it both ways.
Yeah.
But I love LMAO. I use LMAO like when something is truly so hilarious, like so funny, or like almost sarcastically too.
Oh,
like
yeah.
LMAO, isn't that so like stupid?
Yeah,
isn't that
yeah,
like
yeah.
you know?
I'm trying to think now. What's the Gen Z version of LOL? LOL.
Have you
I
talked
think
about your feelings today?
Yeah, I think the emojis.
Is it just
It's
emojis?
emojis, and apparently what type of emojis you use also is very clear if you're Gen Z or
Really?
millennials. Yeah, nobody in Gen Z uses the crying emoji, crying laughing.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, they don't use that.
What do they use? How do they laugh?
They use I don't know, I can't remember, but there's there's a very clear difference in how Gen Z and younger use emojis.
They usually send people formal letters written in blood.
Or there's another one, if I don't know if you've seen the YouTube video for people with Gen Z, if you say like take a picture, if you use your hands, how would you take a picture? You would do this.
Oh yes, I know
They
this.
do this.
Yes, they do this.
How'd you roll down the window?
Oh yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah,
people
they
roll.
do this.
Well, that's not rolling.
This is rolling a window down.
Well,
Yeah, well,
Well, I mean it is, but
no
I mean,
car has this
they've
anymore.
never
Yeah.
done
yeah, but
this.
if you just did this to someone, they wouldn't know that was window.
No,
Gen Z
but
do.
Yeah.
They do. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
that's
there's another one to the hearts. They
Oh,
do.
there's
I
this
can't
one.
even. I don't
There's
even
this
know.
one
what
as
it
well.
is. Yeah, like millennials do
I don't
that.
like
What's
this
that?
one. It's not hard enough for me. This is a heart. Like,
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah,
heart.
that's a heart.
Oh, you do it like
You do it
that.
like that. I think that
How am I
how
supposed
do
to
they
do
do it? Okay, anyways.
Yeah, there's
Wasn't that with Gareth
how
Bale?
did it
Did
go?
that?
Oh my
Oh, yeah,
god, I'm
Gareth Bale.
really aging myself right now that I can't do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
so
know
is
what?
LOL out? I guess so.
Yeah.
It
Just sound
sounds
the four
like
oldest
Yeah.
people in the
sounds
world.
like it's out, but we're just not there yet.
Yeah.
I will say something that I've noticed is that Robin and Michael, you both shake all the time.
It's
And
because I'm
it's-
highly caffeinated all the
Me
time.
And
too.
I think that is the same reason for him.
Decaf coffee over here.
But
Yeah.
it's something
Yeah.
so funny that like I notice when I engineer your episodes, you do it, and it's not bad. It's not like distracting or anything. But I'm just like, oh, he's a shaker, just like Michael.
Yeah, yeah.
And then now I have you both in one room shaking the whole time, and I'm just like,
The cameras are like.
It's good though. I'm burning
It's funny.
calories all the time.
You
Yeah.
do
I know
actually
it's how
burn
you stay so
calories.
trim.
It's
Yeah.
supposed to be a metabolism thing as well.
Wow.
Yeah,
you guys
very
are
faster
burning
metabolism,
calories right
yeah.
here, eh?
Yeah.
We should all be more like Robin and me.
I
Michael,
agree.
yeah.
I agree. Stand up, guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Another episode of Sleepless, a podcast about the creative process. This has been Michael and Marianna from Sonar Network. Thanks again, guys, for being our guests, but also being on the other side of the desk
Yeah,
as
of
well.
course.
Thanks for
Really
having
appreciate
us.
Yeah.
We love working with you guys. And I think what you're building here is cool. And if you're in Toronto, I'm going to sell this thing for you.
Okay.
If you're in Toronto and you're watching this, just come say hi.
Yeah.
Be or friends. If
Yeah,
you want to make
Yeah,
a
if you're
friend.
looking for friends,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe you'll end up,
Marrying
falling
one
in
of
love.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and guys, really appreciate everything you've done. Like the standard of our podcast is going up, so yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I mean it's been a very mutually beneficial relationship. Like for us, the space is just wonderful. It's great to have, and it's been a pleasure working with you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
look forward to
Thank
more.
you.
Yeah.
And as always, stay sleepless.
Peace.
Zzz.